on his coronation day. Once more, his subjects lined the streets and the city wall. Now he knew many faces and names, and when a child wriggled loose from Verrakaien, baker, and ran to him, he scooped her up. "Gerli, where are you going?" Kieri glanced at the child's mother, who stood red-faced a few paces away.
"Give you midsummer luck,"
the child said, pushing a flower behind his ear. Then she planted a wet kiss on his cheek and wriggled to get down. Kieri set her gently on her feet, and Verrakaien snatched her up, face hardening. "Don't scold her," Kieri said. "Kind hearts are Arianya's children." His own heart ached, thinking of his lost daughter at that age, who had run to him just as eagerly. "If the king doesn't mind, a child's good wishes? Never." He went on then, pausing at the 4 cardinal directions to pour a libation and break a loaf. At noon, he went to the royal ossuary to bring the sun to the dead with garlands of flowers. The seneschal had a basket of fresh leaves ready. Kieri laid the leaves on eye-holes, mouths, ear-holes, and hung the garlands at either end of the ossuary. He felt a welcome from the bones. He sat on the stool the seneschal placed for him between the platforms, and the seneschal set the sun candle before him, its fragrant smoke wreathing about him, then bowed and left Kieri alone. By custom, he would tell the bones how the year went, reassure them or trouble them as it might. He had visited the ossuary several times since his coronation, reading over the stories incised on the bones, aware of something he could not define. Clouds of feeling from this one and that, not all of them. But always the seneschal had attended him. This was his first visit truly alone, and the first when he had a report to make. He let his mind quiet, trying to drive away that persistent resentment of the lady's neglect, and then began, talking to the bones as if they were living men and women, his ancestors, standing around him. He told of the coronation, of the many conferences with his council, his assessment of the sires he had met, his concern about the lack of trade, the slow withering of the land's economy, his concern about the danger from Pargun, and what seemed to him an unreasonable aversion to preparations for defense. "And the elves and humans are still estranged," he said into the silent, near darkness. A chill ran down his back, as if behind him someone had stepped out with drawn sword. He felt a tension in the silence. True listening, it seemed. It could not be, he told himself, and yet the hairs stood up on his arms. He did not glance around. He would not give in to the fear. The lady of the ladies' forest. The sun candle flared, the flame rising to the level of his knees as he sat on the stool. Kieri felt sweat break out on his forehead. Were elves listening? So much the better, then. Perhaps they would carry his message to her. He laid it all out in plain words, in a voice flat with suppressed anger. She was his grandmother and his co-ruler. She owed him the courtesy of her presence, and the kingdom the courtesy of her attention and her assistance. She had changed since the coronation, and he did not know why. He was angry, he admitted to the bones, that she had neglected what he saw as her plain duty, and yet he was not free to act as he would if he were sole ruler. Even that day, that sacred morn of midsummer, she had ignored his request and come to the grove only at the final moment. As if physical hands touched his face, he felt something. A warmth on his right cheek, a coolness on his left. Something of his father, the merest hint of a man's firm, warm hand on his sword side, the merest hint of a woman's softer, cooler hand on his heart side. His heart stuttered a moment, then beat on. He could not speak aloud. He asked the question in his mind. "Are you father, sister?"